So before we splash, I'm gonna take some red and blue bottom paint that Pepper lent me, and I'm gonna paint something pretty on the hull. I didn't really have a plan going into this, but it turned out to be personified versions of water and sky with our little sailboat sailing through the stars in the night. And then over here we have another personified version of land, and she's sleeping on top of some mountains with trees in the background. And then finally, on the right side, we have personified wind, blowing us back home. So we've had some questions about our rigging ever since we've started this channel. Herby in a second is going to go outside and explain everything about the rigging in a very simplified fashion. When we bought the boat, it had stainless steel rigging and it was very heavy. And Herby got this idea. He'd never seen it done. He got the idea to replace all of our rigging with synthetic, and it was really just trial and error. We didn't know if it would work. We did a trial going all the way down the Chesapeake, out the mouth, down to North Carolina, and it worked beautifully. And ever since then, it's been fantastic. So we do highly recommend it, but it's a lot of work.
Yeah, you have to be one with the rigging. Now, I had seen it done with a combination of turnbuckles and lashings on smaller boats. But I wanted to do just lashings because, as Maddie has pointed out to me, I have problems with middle ground. It's either yay or nay, nothing in between. So either we were doing steel rigging with turnbuckles, or we were going to do all rope, nothing else. So when they told me it had to be done with turnbuckles, I said, no, there has to be a way. And then I devised this way. The good qualities of synthetic extending rigging are they weigh practically nothing by comparison, and they are impervious to corrosion. So synthetic extending rigging for an entire boat usually weighs somewhere around 10 to 15 pounds for a 40-foot sailboat. That's significantly less. You're talking well over 100 pounds if you're doing steel rigging. So the weight aloft is also greatly decreased by reducing the amount of weight of the rigging. Now, each foot that you move 1 pound up the mast is equal to 1 foot-pound. So if you have a 60-foot mast and you put 1 pound up there, it now exerts 60 foot-pounds of torque on your sailboat while you're sailing, which adds to more heeling. If you can take that weight off, you'll stand more upright. So we used to always be around 20 degrees heeled over when the sails were out and anything happened. Now we rarely get past 10 degrees, simply because the boat is stiffer and it's able to carry more sail. This allows us to then carry more sail in stronger winds, letting us sail faster without needing to reef as early, because everything's still comfortable. Another huge advantage is the lack of corrosion. So the synthetic material is plastic. It's polyethylene. It's just been modified, and it can't corrode because there's no metal or iron in it to corrode. Since it can't corrode, you don't have to worry about things like crevice corrosion or rust. Just hiding somewhere and then snapping, and then your mast comes down. So chafe is going to be your big issue, and it's easy to spot and easy to repair. You can either do a mending splice or simply serve the area if it's not too bad.
Aside from the weight savings and lack of corrosion, another really great thing about synthetic rigging is you can fix it anywhere with a very small amount of tools.
Yeah, so all the tools you actually need are just a set of fids. And if you have the fids from when you made it, you can remake it anywhere. And the weight of the spares is negligible. You figure they recommend to carry one length of steel cable equal to your longest stay. And the reason you only carry one length is because it's so heavy you can't actually carry enough rigging for your whole boat. With our case, I actually carry an entire spool of rope just as a spare, just in case we're in some random island where they've never heard of synthetic rigging and something chafes through and we need to fix it. We can simply re-rig the boat on an island.
Yep.
Under a palm tree.
Preferably under a palm tree.
Yeah, preferably. A little bit of shade, you know? Yeah.
So now Herby's going to go out and actually show you what he's talking about.
Yes. And if you find it too tedious or detailed, you may skip along to the next part.
The next part's cool.
Yes. We are rigged with synthetic standing rigging, which means instead of using a steel cable to hold up the mast, we use a rope cable. Now this rope isn't just regular rope, it's actually made out of ultra-high molecular weight polyethylene. What this stuff is it's a really long polymer chain that runs through the rope. And they actually make it into little fibers, which then is spun out into the rope. This is actually heat set, which means that under tension and load, they take the rope and they heat it while they stretch it. What that does is it slightly melts the fibers so that they will melt, slide along each other, and then bond again, forming even longer chains that run through this rope. When they do that, it greatly reduces the amount of stretch and creep that these ropes will experience. Creep is the permanent elongation of a molecule over time. It's different from stretch because stretch is where it'll stretch out and then go back. Creep is permanent. When these ropes are new, they creep a whole lot. It takes a couple months for them to settle in, and then they get to the point where they are now, which is their second life cycle of Dyneema, where they stop creeping. If you want to read more about the life cycle of Dyneema, we'll include a link down below to a blog post that I wrote a while ago. Now, this is heat set Dyneema. The lashings down here are regular Dyneema. This is just Amsteel blue in black color. It's a SK78 rope, and I use it to tie off the entire stay. Down here we have the deadeye, which is what we use to connect the chain plate to the stay. What the deadeye does is it offers us a way to attach it to a toggle and still have a pulley system that we can use to crank down and tighten the rigging. As you can see, there's 5 passes that go through this. So this gives us a 10-to-1 pulley system when we're tensioning. Now this 10-to-1 pulley is also fed through a winch, which greatly amplifies the amount of force we can do. So for smaller stays like these lowers, we have 5 passes. For heavier stays, like the cap shrouds, we have 7 passes. So it all depends on how much tension you need to achieve, and therefore you adjust accordingly. The way the stays are tied off and tensioned is quite a lengthy process. It takes me about 20 minutes to tie each one. And on a boat with 12, you can imagine that takes a long time to adjust the rigging. There is another video, we'll include the link in the description down below, where it goes through all the steps to tie and untie this and how to tension it. It's quite a process. If you're interested in it, you can watch the video all the way through. With chafe, there's different levels of severity. Now, you can see on these, there's a little bit of fuzziness starting to happen right here. And this is simply from the sheet rubbing against it. If it were to get severe, then we'd do something about it. Areas that will experience more chafe, like the head stay, where the hanks rub on them all the time, every time the sail goes up and down, need to be protected further. On the head stay, I've applied service, which is simply a tightly wound rope that goes around the rope that you're trying to protect and serves as a sacrificial piece. I put service at the tack portion and all the way up the top at the head portion, which is not visible in this video. In the middle, where the chafe exists but is far from being as severe, I've simply wrapped it in a chafe sleeve. A rather nice feature with a split backstay made out of Dyneema is you can easily install a backstay adjuster. The top half of the backstay is made out of heat set Dyneema, but the lower half is this Amsteel blue. Onto the backstay adjuster. There's all these red ropes that hang up and down, serve a very useful purpose. To adjust the backstay, all I need to do is pull it down. So I pull on these ropes and it will go lowering the backstay adjuster. As it lowers it, the backstay gets pinched and that tightens the headstay. To raise it, I simply haul on the other one, which will pull it right back up.
and we hope that you will like this video and subscribe to our channel for updates on our adventures.
And when you subscribe, make sure you click on the little bell. That way you'll get notifications as soon as the next video is uploaded.
Thank you so much.